The Senate will come to order. Senator Herpin for the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Majors, would you please take the roll?
Aguilar, Balmer, Baumgartner, Brophy, Cadman, Crowder, Grantham, Guzman, Harvey, Heath, Herpin, Hill,
Excused.
Hodge, John, Johnston, Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, King, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Newell, Nicholson, Renfro, Rivera, Roberts, Sheffel, Schwartz, Stedman, Tocktrop, Todd, Ulibarri, Ulibarri,
Absent. Present. Buried, hidden. But
Benzinger. Madam President.
Here. With 34 present, 0 absent, 1 excused, the Senate has a quorum. Motion to adopt the journal. Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the journal from Wednesday, February 19th be dispensed with and the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Thanks, Senator Crowder. All opposed, no. Senator Crowder has it. Motion is adopted. Committee reports.
February 19, 2014, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following House Bill 1059 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 19, 2014, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 10 be postponed indefinitely. February 19, 2014, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following House Bill 1073 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 19, 2014, Committee on Education. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 86 be postponed indefinitely. February 19, 2014, Madam President, the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology has had under consideration and had a hearing on the following appointment and recommends the appointment be confirmed. Member of the State Personnel Board for a term expiring June 30th, 2018, Neil Peck of Denver, Colorado, appointed. February 19th, 2014, Madam President, the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology has had under consideration and has a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be confirmed. Members of the State Plumbing Board, effective July 1st, 2013, for a term expiring July 1st, 2015, Robin A. Vidamos of Centennial, Colorado, an unaffiliated member of the public at large, reappointed. Effective July 1st, 2013, for terms expiring July 1st, 2017, Janice K. Snido of Thornton, Colorado, a Democrat and a journeyman plumber, reappointed, and James Vernon of Fountain, Colorado, a Republican and member or employee of a local government agency conducting plumbing inspections, reappointed. For a term expiring July 1st, 2017, Matthew Ray Wagey of Greeley, Colorado, a Republican and a master plumber, appointed. February 19, 2014, Madam President, the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be confirmed. Members of the State Electrical Board for terms expiring July 1st, 2016, Michael Allen Miller of Centennial, Colorado, to serve as an electrical contractor who has a master's license, appointed, and David Roderick Olson of Niwot, Colorado, a member of the public at large, appointed. February 19, 2014, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends the following House Bill 1079 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on consent calendar.
Senate Services.
February 20th, 2014, correctly printed, Senate Bills 149, Senate Joint Resolutions 14 and 15, correctly engrossed, Senate Bills 43 and 135, Senate Joint Resolution 14, correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bills 97, 103, and 121, correctly enrolled, Senate Bills 4, 19, and 25.
Message from the House.
February 19, 2014, Madam President, the House has passed on third reading and transmitted the advisory statutes, House Bills 1177, 1194, 1121, and 1215. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted the advisory statutes, House Bill 1160 as amended, House Bill 1126 as amended. February 19, 2014, Madam President, the House has adopted and returns herewith Senate Joint Resolutions 14, 5, and 13.
Message from the Reviser.
February 19, 2014, we herewith transmit without comment House Bills 1121, 1177, 1194, and 1215 without comment as amended House Bills 1126 and 1160.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we proceed out of order for the purpose of considering Senate Joint Resolution 12.
You've heard the motion, members. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate will proceed out of order for purpose of considering Senate Joint Resolution 12. Members, if we could have your attention for this resolution. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 12?
Senate Joint Resolution 12 by Senators Cavallis and Newell and Representative McCann concerning Human Trafficking Awareness Advocacy Day.
Thank you. Senator Cavallis.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, colleagues and guests. I move SJR 12 and ask that it be read at length.
Mr. Majors, would you please read the resolution at length?
Whereas human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal industry in the world, second only to drug trafficking, with an estimated annual global income of $32 billion. And whereas, according to the Trafficking in Persons Report 2012, produced by the U.S. Department of State, approximately 27 million adults and children worldwide are trafficked across international borders and forced into labor and sexual exploitation. And whereas in the U.S., between 100,000 and 300,000 children are at risk for sexual exploitation with an average age of 12 to 14 years old. And whereas it is estimated that 76% of transactions for sex with underage girls start on the internet. And whereas between January 1st, 2012 and December 31st, 2013, the FBI Rocky Mountain Innocence Lost Task Force accomplished the following: led 93 and assisted in an additional 37 sex trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation of children investigations, arrested 31 people for pimping and trafficking related offenses, and 19 people for patronizing a prostituted child and a sex assault on a child, pursued 193 tips from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and an additional 254 tips from citizens, law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, Department of Human Services personnel, victim advocates, and many others. Trained over 7,300 people about human trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation of children, providing a total of nearly 275 hours of training, and with the assistance of local law enforcement partners, recovered 110 juveniles. Whereas among the diverse populations affected by human trafficking, children are particularly at risk of involvement in sex and labor trafficking, especially those children who reside in the child welfare system. And whereas traffickers prey upon children and youth with low self-esteem and minimal social support, traits that tend to be highly prevalent among young people who are homeless or those in foster care due to their history of abuse, neglect, and trauma. And whereas one study shows as many as 50 to 85% of sexual trafficking victims are individuals who have previously lived or currently live in the child welfare system. And whereas runaway, homeless, LGBTQ, and child welfare youth are especially vulnerable to the recruitment and control tactics of human traffickers. And whereas as a result of the diverse systems that touch these children's lives, professionals in the child welfare, law enforcement, treatment, nonprofit, and faith-based communities must collaborate to develop a multidisciplinary response to protect victims of child trafficking. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 69th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that the General Assembly, in recognition of Human Trafficking Awareness Advocacy Day on February 20th, 2014, will build upon the 4 Ps: prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnerships, as set forth by the Colorado Project to Comprehensively Combat Human Trafficking Conference, Be it further resolved that copies of this joint resolution be sent to Governor John Hickenlooper, Attorney General John Suthers, and Betty Edwards, founder of the Human Trafficking Task Force of Southern Colorado.
Thank you. Senator Cavallis.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for your attention, colleagues. The purpose of this resolution, of course, is to raise awareness. This is the second annual Human Trafficking Awareness Day. An awful lot of credit goes to the Human Trafficking Task Force of Southern Colorado, and we'll honor those folks later on as we proceed. But I just want to make sure that folks understand the gravity of the situation. And in Colorado, even in my community in Fort Collins up north, these are real issues that affect real people, and particularly vulnerable are children. And one of the things that strikes me in the information that was provided in the resolution is the fact that 50 to 85% of children, young adults, mostly women, but not entirely, women and girls that are indeed trafficked for various illegal purposes, they come out of the child welfare system, out of the foster care system. So that's what the purpose of this resolution is. I'm grateful that this is an example of an issue that goes beyond partisanship. This is something that we can all agree on is important, and there is a lot of good work happening in Colorado to coordinate efforts. Today, there are lots of activities going on in the old Supreme Court chambers. There are lots of displays on the first floor, and on the second floor, I would encourage you, colleagues, to visit those displays and learn, and let's continue to raise awareness. Let's continue to work together to end trafficking of adults and children, whether it's labor trafficking or sex trafficking in the state of Colorado.
Thank you. Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam President. I am honored to join Senator Cavallis in this resolution today because, one, as you all know, my fervent passion about the children in the child welfare and child protection system, but also it is amazing over the last few years how much I have discovered about human trafficking and how prevalent it is. In fact, there's probably not one Senate district here that doesn't have human trafficking happening right now. Not only this day, but this minute. And many of those are the women and children, the vulnerable populations, the homeless, the youth experiencing homeless. They are targeted, they are recruited into these human trafficking operations. Even in Weld County, in Eagle County, in Denver Metro County, we've had some of the substantiated cases. In my own Senate district in Greenwood Village, we had labor trafficking in a restaurant. In Aurora, we had a domestic worker who was trafficked. So this could be happening next door to you, and you may not know it. So the reason behind this Awareness Day is to make sure that we are all a village of people looking out for each other and becoming more aware about what we can personally do to stop these horrific crimes.
Senator Zenzinger was next. Senator Cavallis, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. There is an amendment. I'd like to move that amendment at this time.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment L001?
Amendment L001 to Senate Joint Resolution 12 by
Senator Cavallis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And colleagues, L001 is mostly a technical amendment. It was brought to me by the coalition of groups. On page 3 of the amendment, in the first be it resolved clause, in terms of recognizing today as Human Trafficking Awareness Day and referencing the 4 Ps, prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnerships, the amendment basically changes the reference to the organization that is behind this, which is the referencing the U.S. federal government's efforts, and the 4 Ps serve as a framework for the Laboratory to Combat Human Trafficking's Colorado project to comprehensively. That's a long one to say, but essentially it's just clarifying the language. The 4 Ps are the framework, and we're talking about the Colorado project, which is identified in L001. I hope that makes sense.
Please move L001.
I move L001.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question is the adoption of L001 to Senate Joint Resolution 12. Are there any no votes on the amendment? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, L001 is adopted. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Madam President. I was on the Jefferson County Child and Youth Leadership Commission before I became a senator, and that's where I really became aware of this issue. Child sex trafficking in Jeffco has become rampant, and I was shocked to learn how easily kids get wrapped up into human trafficking. And it happens because a girl has a fight with her parents and she runs away. And she runs away and she moves in with a boyfriend, or she moves in with a friend, and then pretty soon she has no money. And the next thing you know, people, that she meets on the street or in whatever circumstances she's in, convinces her that she can make some easy money if they just come and work for her. And if you just, sleep with this one guy, get a little bit of money, then you can get back up on your feet. And then you can, continue to be independent. And that's all it takes. The statistics that talk about the number of runaways, if they're not returned to the home within a week, their chances of falling into a sex trafficking ring is staggering. It's beyond 50%. And so I rise as part of this resolution. I think that it's very important that we create awareness about this issue and that we do what we can in order to end human trafficking in Colorado and the United States.
Senator King.
Thank you, President Carroll. This is a big deal. Human trafficking is second only to drug trafficking. The money, $32 billion. To my young friends in the room, do you know that a billion seconds is 31.7 years? That puts into some context what $32 billion is. With more than 30 years in law enforcement, I can tell you that human trafficking is a frightened coward in the light of day. And it is a vicious monster in the dark of night. And we have to have the courage to hunt it down in every dark corner of our world and destroy it with God's speed. I appreciate all of the work that is done by the Human Trafficking Task Force and all of adults and kids alike who are committed to putting an end to this cancer in our society. Thank you, President Carroll.
Thank you, Senator Todd.
Thank you, Madam President, and I rise in support of this very important resolution. As I sat here and started listening and thinking back over the 10 years that I've served down here, I can remember Representative Borodkin, former Representative Borodkin, brought this forward, and we started talking about and learning about the impact of trafficking in Colorado. And she was very bold in bringing this forward and having some very uncomfortable conversations in some ways here at the Capitol. But I think in addition to that, I also am reminded of conversations that have taken place in my church, where the faith communities have really stepped forward and have really said, we need to educate, we need to inform, and we need to take position of being involved. And that has been a key piece of, again, reaching out beyond it just being an issue here at the Capitol, but it really is being addressed on a broader scope. I congratulate and thank very much the task force. I thank you for your diligence and your perseverance in staying the course. A resolution is only words. We need to turn those words into action. And I think each and every one of us, when we see something that we are even the least bit suspicious, not to turn a blind eye, but to ask questions and to make sure that there is action to follow. on probably some of our most vulnerable, which are our children, but also some young adults that are caught in that same situation. So thank you very much, Senator Kafalas and Senator Newell, for bringing this forward. Very important. And to my friend from Grand Junction, thank you for your words of wisdom as well.
Senator Schwartz.
Thank you, Madam President. I also rise in support of such a critical resolution, and I want to just acknowledge and thank all those advocates that have joined us today, joined us at the Capitol, for your continued diligence to make certain that through awareness, we are going to start to create a change around this, at least in our nation, to the extent possible. I represent many resort communities in this state, and we know that certainly geographic location, income, none of these are barriers to this tragedy that we are seeing right in our midst. I want to acknowledge our filmmaker Jane Wells in my community for her incredible work to bring awareness and continue to ride along in Denver with our law enforcement and record what it looks like, because many of us, that's sort of this invisible tragedy that we really can't appreciate does in fact surround us. So continue our work, continue our awareness, and to the extent possible, we can do our work here at making sure that we meet this with the most severest penalties that are at our disposal to have these people recognize the severity of what they're doing. Thank you.
Senator Kafalas.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, colleagues, thank you very much. And guests, thank you very much for your attention to this critical issue and for your words. I renew my motion for the adoption of SJR 12 as amended and ask for your support.
The question before the body is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 12. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 12 is adopted. Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam President. We ask for the present roll call to be added as co-sponsors.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, the present roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 12. Third reading of bills. Oh, Senator Kafalas.
Sorry, Madam President. May I just take 30 seconds to acknowledge just a couple of folks?
So we voted on that. What we'll do is have the Majority Leader move for a moment of personal privilege. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for a moment of personal privilege for Senator Kafalas and Senator Newell.
All in favor say aye. Opposed no. Ayes have it. Senator Kafalas and Newell shall be granted a moment of personal privilege. Senator Kafalas.
Thank you, Madam President. Take two, and eventually I'll get it right. I just want to make sure, number one, colleagues, you have this brochure on your desk, and 11:45 there will be an excellent program on the 4 Ps in the old Supreme Court chambers. There are these displays, and also there will be a rally on the west steps of the Capitol. And in terms of introductions, I just want to mention 2 people. We have a number of folks from Colorado Springs and other parts of the state that are participating in this Human Trafficking Awareness Day. But in particular, I'd just like for us to acknowledge Ms. Betty Edwards, who is the founder and chair of the Human Trafficking Task Force of Southern Colorado. And of course, that organization is the main sponsor of today's Advocacy Day. And then I don't believe she's here because she's probably out at the tables, but Tamra Farah, board member of the task force. I'd just like to acknowledge them, and perhaps if you folks could stand, and we'll just give you a round of applause. Join me, colleagues. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, senators and guests, for bringing this issue for us this morning. We will move to third reading of bills. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 43?
Senate Bill 43 by Senator Grantham and Representative Priola concerning the inclusion of certain land areas used to grow products that originate above the ground within the classification of all other agricultural property for property tax purposes.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 43 on third reading and final passage and ask for use of the current roll call.
Is there any discussion? Question for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 43. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 43 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Ulibarri, Senator Kafalas, Senator Scheffel, Senator Crowder, Senator Herpin, Senator Lambert, Senator Rivera. Senator John, were you co-sponsoring? Senator Schwartz. Senator Baumgartner. Senator Marble, are you co-sponsoring? Okay. Senator Lundberg. Senator King. Senator John. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 135?
Senate Bill 135 by Senator Brophy and Representative Wright concerning the repeal of certain provisions concerning the purchasing of firearms in states that are contiguous to Colorado.
Senator Brophy. Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam President.
Back to Senator Brophy.
Thank you, Madam President.
You're a great space filler, Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 135 on third reading and final passage.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? The question before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 135 on third reading. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 135 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Scheffel, Senator Crowder, Senator Marble, Senator Grantham, Senator Rivera, Senator Roberts, Senator John, Senator Nicholson, Senator Zenzinger, Madam President Pro Tem, Senator Stedman, Senator Kafalas, Senator Kerr, Senator Lundberg, Senator Lambert, Senator Lundberg, I gotcha, Senator Toktrot, Senator Schwartz, Senator Johnston, Senator King, Senator Todd. General orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Aguilar. You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate will resolve itself into a committee of the whole for purpose of considering general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Aguilar will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to all the bills on the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar?
House Bill 1086 by Representative Murray and Senator Jones concerning a requirement that a legal notice published in a newspaper is also published on a statewide website maintained by a majority of Colorado newspapers. House Bill 1035 by Representative Gardner and Senator Johnston concerning collection of restitution ordered pursuant to a deferred judgment.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the adoption of all the bills on general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar, which includes House Bills 1086 and 1035, and there are no committee reports.
Is there any discussion? The motion before the body is adoption of all the bills on the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills on the consent calendar are adopted. Majority Leader Heath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move we rise and report.
The motion is for the body to rise and report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
February 20th, 2014, Madam President, your committee, the whole basic report is that under consideration the following attached bills being second reading thereof makes following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1086 and 1035 pass on second reading and ordered revised to place on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the adoption of the report.
Is there any discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, the committee of the whole report is adopted. House Bill 1086, House Bill 1035 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate will resolve itself into a committee of the whole for purpose of considering general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Aguilar will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill? Sorry, I don't have my calendar. Okay, to House Bill 1146. I asked you already. You have to read the title.
House Bill 1146 by Representative Becker and Senator Talktrop concerning a prohibition against greyhound racing in Colorado.
Senator Talktrop.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I move House Bill 1146. And presently, we do not have any greyhound racing tracks here in the state of Colorado. For many years, we had quite a few, but they have they're no longer here. And what this bill does, it just puts statutorily that we do not have greyhound racing in the state of Colorado, and it adds language that will be able to continue and simulcast greyhound racing from other states because there is no greyhound racing in Colorado. And then it can be held at the horse race tracks that are currently authorized through statute. And in 2009, with the prospect of the permanent cessation of live greyhound racing, Division of Racing Events in the Department of Revenue reduced its investment in greyhound racing regulations. And I know that we had a lot of testimony, or actually two people that came up and testified and said that we're against the bill because they said we are trying, because we are eliminating greyhound racing tracks here in the state of Colorado statutorily, which again we presently don't have, that there's a movement to eliminate greyhound racing across the country. And this bill no way addresses that because, frankly, it's good that there continue to have greyhound racing tracks in other parts of the country because it brings people into the horse racing tracks to gamble on simulcast, which helps the state of Colorado. And I just asked for an aye vote. Again, I just want to be very clear. When we introduced this legislation and moved it forward, in no way is it even a movement to begin to eliminate greyhound racing in any other part of the state, the country. And again, it is in no way trying to eliminate the breeding of greyhounds anywhere in the state of Colorado or anywhere in the country. We are not addressing that. I feel very strongly that people that breed do a good job as far as breeding the dogs, any breed of dogs, because it's good to have a registered purebred dog that knows that the bloodlines and where they're coming from. So what we are just doing, putting in statute the elimination of greyhound racing in the state of Colorado, which we haven't had since 2009. In fact, today in the hub in the northern part of the state, the local hub, they're showing the removal of the the last greyhound racing track that we had in the state, which was Mile High in Commerce City. And they're starting to tear down the buildings. Anyway, I just asked for an aye vote on 1146.
Thank you. Senator Baumgartner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree with Senator Talktrop to a point. We don't do it. We don't race greyhounds in the state anymore, and we haven't for years. This bill, however, I believe that at some point in time, we eliminate greyhound racing now. We prohibit it from happening in the state, although you can still wager on greyhound racing that are in other states. So we're making it illegal here, but it's okay for people to still wager on greyhound racing outside the state. And again, that's not why I voted against the bill. The reason I voted against it is today it's greyhound racing, and tomorrow it's horse racing. So it's a progression, and even though it was said it's not a progression to do away with, I just feel that this is a start by certain groups in the country because of cruelty to animals, which it was brought up, cruelty to animals. But we can extend that to any type of racing, any type of event that's out there. So this is why I'm a no vote, is because we're doing away with racing now for greyhounds. In 2 to 3 years, it could be we're doing away with horse racing. So it's just something to think about, and that's why I'm voting no.
Senator Todd-Trapp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Baumgartner, you could not be more wrong about saying that it's greyhound racing today and it's horse racing tomorrow, because one of the issues in this bill and one of the things that we're addressing is the fact that we're going to actually help the horse tracks. And unfortunately, there's only one horse racing track left here in the state of Colorado. And one of the things that this bill will do is help that track to keep horse racing viable by allowing people to go to the track at certain times and to bet on greyhound racing. And this bill really works very hard to help keep the horse racing track together. And believe me, I would never, ever even think about bringing a bill forward that would hurt the sport of kings, which is the horse racing. Again, I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I oppose this bill in committee. And again, the reason I oppose it was because I found it somewhat disingenuous that we would actually pass or have a bill that actually actively prohibits greyhound racing. But yet, we make it possible to bet on greyhound racing that's going on in other areas of the country. I just found it was just disingenuous. I didn't see any reason to have a bill making that prohibition, and for that reason I voted against it, and I'm going to vote on this bill.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1146. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Majority Leader Heath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move we rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee has met and had a bill under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
February 20th, 2014, Madam President, your committee of the whole Big reports under consideration the following tax bill being second reading thereof makes following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1146 passed on second reading in order to revise, placed on the counter for third reading and final passage.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption of the report.
Is there any discussion on the committee of the whole report? Seeing none, the question is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. House Bill 1136 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Consideration of governor's appointments. Senator, Mr. Majors, would you please read the appointments to the Colorado Board of Veterans Affairs?
Members of the Colorado Board of Veterans Affairs, effective June 30th, 2013, for a term expiring June 30th, 2015, Christopher M. Holden of Colorado Springs, Colorado, a Republican and a veteran who has been honorably released or separated from the armed forces of the United States and occasioned by the resignation of Franklin D.B. Jackson of Denver, Colorado, appointed. Effective June 30th, 2013, for terms expiring June 30th, 2017, Jason Anderson Vitley Crow of Denver, Colorado, a Democrat and a veteran who has been honorably released or separated from the armed forces of the United States, reappointed. Renee Joseph Simmerd of Highlands Ranch, Colorado, a Republican and veteran who has been honorably released or separated from the armed forces of the United States, appointed.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the appointment of Christopher M. Holden, Jason Crow, and Renee Simmerd to the Colorado Board of Veterans Affairs.
Is there any discussion on any of the appointees to the Board of Veterans Affairs? Seeing none, are there any no votes on any of the appointments? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Christopher M. Holden, Jason Anderson Vitley Crow, and Renee Joseph Simmerd are confirmed to the Colorado Board of Veterans Affairs. Message from the Governor.
February 19th, 2014, to the Honorable Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to inform you that I have approved and filed with the Secretary of State the following acts. Senate Bill 7, considering authority for a Board of County Commissioners to transfer county general fund monies to its county road and bridge fund after a declared disaster emergency in the county. Approved February 19, 2014 at 11:08 a.m. Senate Bill 26, concerning the removal of certain statutory printing requirements for information provided by the Division of Water Resources, approved February 19, 2014 at 11:13 a.m. Sincerely, John W. Hickenlooper, Governor. February 10, 2014, to the Honorable Colorado Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the powers conferred upon me by the constitutional laws of the state of Colorado, I have the honor to designate, appoint, reappoint, and submit to consideration the following member of the Juvenile Parole Board for a term expiring November 15, 2017, Patricia J. Kelly of Franktown, Colorado, to serve as a public member not employed by state government, appointed. Sincerely, John W. Hickenlooper, Governor.
Judiciary. The following change in bill sponsorship will occur. Representative Sonnenberg will be removed as joint prime sponsor with Representative May and Senator John on Senate Bill 93. The following change in sponsorship will also occur. Representative Navarro will be added as joint prime sponsor with Representative Garcia and Senator Crowder on Senate Joint Resolution 15. Committee reports.
February 19, 2014, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following House Bill 1024 refer to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation.
Please add Senator Hill to the roll call. Announcements.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to very quickly introduce my father, Woody Palmer, who's over here from the Western Slope from Olathe, Colorado. He is here to watch the state wrestling tournament, and so I just wanted to recognize my father and thank him for being here.
Senator Hodge.
Thank you, Madam President. I just would like to announce that appropriations will meet at 8:30 tomorrow morning instead of 7:30 tomorrow morning.
Senator Baumgartner.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to take this opportunity, because it is Gifted and Talented Day at the Capitol, to first of all welcome all the students that have participated, but more in particular the 30 students that are here from Rifle Middle School, the Gifted and Talented program, and just if we could welcome them into the chamber, that would be fantastic. All of them, yes.
Senator Roberts was next.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to remind folks of the National Conference of State Legislatures reception tonight down at the Brown Palace. And if you don't know, NCSL has a lot of committees, bipartisan organization, a lot of ways to get involved. So sure would love to see you at the Brown Palace at 5 p.m.
Senator Todd was next.
Thank you, Madam President. And I also want to just remind many of you about the CASB lunch today. This is a great opportunity to meet with your school boards and to be able to have some good interaction. Our school board members across the state do this on a volunteer basis. They do not get a salary. They are working for the welfare of their communities and for their school districts, and so encourage you to attend and join them to have good conversation. Thank you.
Senator Tucktrap.
Thank you, Madam President, and I know there's a lot of things going on today at the Capitol, but we do have the first meeting in room 107. It's Colorado Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus, 107. Lunch will be provided.
Senator Johnston.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to welcome, we're honored to have a couple of our friends here from the Centennial School Board, oldest town in Colorado. They're here for today's CASB conference. I just wanted to welcome our friends from Centennial who are here doing a great job representing their school district and their town. Thank you all so much for being here.
Senator Rivera.
Thank you, Madam President. And of course, we were made aware that we have the students down here learning about legislation in the legislative day, but we all know that we never stop learning, we never stop learning about things. And we have, in fact, in the gallery, some folks from Pueblo, the Leadership Pueblo, the Pueblo Chamber of Commerce has brought some folks down. If y'all could stand up, I think. Leadership Pueblo, can we stand up? Be acknowledged? No? I hope. I'm sorry, but we do have some folks here from Pueblo, Leadership Pueblo, to learn about the legislative process as well. My apologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm told that all the committees are meeting as scheduled, both on adjournment and this afternoon. So with that, I move that the Senate adjourn till 9 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, February 21st.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Senate will adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, February 21st.
Committees will meet as scheduled.